All right, let's get into it then. Hi everyone, my name is Tim Solomon. I am the head of the Planning Policy, Design and Conservation team here at Haringey. I'm joined by my colleague Naima. Naima, could you introduce yourself just briefly?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Naima Ihsan. I work in the Transport and Travel team at Haringey Council.
Thanks, Naima. So today what we'll be doing is covering the draft local plan and in particular focusing in on the sustainable travel chapter. The way the session works is I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the local plan, its structure, the process we're going through, and then we'll do a section where I'll walk you through just at a high level the sustainable travel chapter. At the moment, all your mics and cameras are on mute, but you can still post questions in the Q&A function. You'll see I've posted something in the chat there, or in the Q&A box there. And then at the end, after the presentation is finished, which will take about half an hour, we'll have about 20 or 25 minutes for questions at the end. And the way you can ask a question is just by raising your hand using the function at the top of your screen. We will, because your mics are currently muted, we will say your name, unmute your mic. You'll then have to be invited to speak. You don't have to speak, but you'll be invited to speak, and then you'll have to unmute yourself in order to then ask your question. So without any further ado, the agenda for today, as I mentioned, introduction to the local plan, going through the sustainable travel chapter, and then a bit on how you can respond on the website before the Q&A. And first of all, is starting off by saying what is the local plan? Well, the local plan is the council's main planning document. It's used to determine planning applications in Haringey, right from an extension to your home through to something of the scale of Tottenham Hale or Haringey Heartlands in terms of changing a whole neighbourhood, really. A bit about what it does and doesn't do. It does set out a vision of the kind of places that we want to live, work, and spend time in. It helps us plan for our future growth and infrastructure needs. So the new homes that we need, the new employment spaces that we need, and the infrastructure to support them. And importantly, it allocates key sites within the borough that can accommodate some of those needs, whether it is housing, jobs, infrastructure, green spaces, etc. Importantly, it also includes a number of requirements and guidelines that help us ensure that the development that comes forward is of high quality and is sustainable. And it also seeks to protect the things we really love in the borough, so our heritage sites and green spaces, for instance. Unfortunately, the local plan does not come with a big budget. It is a regulatory document, not a funding document. So it doesn't in itself fund or deliver new development. It just sets the rules for against which development will be assessed when it does come forward. It also doesn't cover the management of council services, so it's not involved in things like, say, street cleaning or housing tenancies or street parking or LTNs, low traffic neighbourhoods, for instance. It does get involved, as you'll see, in things like what the maximum number of car parks that you can have as part of a new development. And it doesn't make decisions on things like schools, delivery of hospitals or transport projects. However, if a development has kind of transport needs that are raised as a result of the new people or employees that are coming into that particular location as a result of the development, it may need to provide transport infrastructure or contributions towards transport infrastructure. So why a new local plan? Well, we are required to review our local plan every 5 years. Our existing suite of documents actually dates back to 2017, and it comprises 4 different documents. So you've got a strategic policies document, a development management document, site allocations document, so we point out those key sites which have opportunities to accommodate the growth, and also a specific area action plan for the Tottenham area. But a lot has changed since then. So we've got new national policy that has come in. We've got a new London plan that has since come in. The council's declared a climate emergency, and we've got the housing crisis and a greater focus on health and well-being, particularly in our kind of post-COVID pandemic climate. It's also an opportunity for us to consolidate what is a lot of documents and a lot of words, but also to leverage events that are coming up, like the Haringey being the London Borough of Culture in 2027 and hosting the Euros in 2028. The local plan is part of a kind of broader planning framework. As I said, it's kind of existing. It comprises currently of 4 documents. This proposed or draft local plan will replace all those 4 documents. It will also replace a wood green area action plan that the council has been working on for a number of years. So I often like to say one plan to rule them all is the idea here. And the local plan will sit alongside the London plan, which sets out, it's kind of the capital's regional planning document. It also contains a suite of planning policies, with the idea being that the local plan dives into a greater level of local detail and spells out where required local priorities that might differ from those in the London plan. The London plan importantly sets out housing targets for the borough. So Haringey has a housing target that is over 15,000 new homes over a 10-year period. And so it's in the local plan that we have to set out how we're going to deliver those homes. It takes a while to produce a document as hefty as the local plan. We started this process back in 2021 with our first steps consultation, which we began without having drafted anything. It was essentially just to get the community's ideas on what the priorities, opportunities, challenges are right from the start of the process. Since then, we've been working on putting together what is quite a comprehensive draft plan, and that's what we're engaging on now. So the engagement period runs through to December 19th. After this, what will happen is we'll take the feedback from this consultation and use it to produce what we call a proposed submission plan. Now, that is the version of the plan that we intend to take through to examination by an independent inspector appointed by the government. Before we take it, present it to the inspector or to the government, we will undertake consultation, another round of consultation on that proposed submission plan. And that consultation feedback will be presented to the inspector, including our response to it. So it might be that we agree to some of the additional changes that have been put forward to us. After the examination, the inspector will make a decision as to whether the plan is sound enough to be adopted, and they may recommend that there are some major changes made to the plan in order for it to be considered legally sound. If that's the case, we will undertake consultation on those proposed major changes. Once those are agreed and the plan is deemed legally sound and able to be adopted, then it's up to the council itself to adopt the plan, and we're hoping that that will occur in the winter of 2026-27. The plan is divided up into 3 broad sections. The first is a kind of an introductory section which sets out what our spatial vision is for the borough, so that's kind of the narrative. It then sets out, importantly, what we believe placemaking to be in Haringey, and a framework for undertaking placemaking. That includes a series of objectives, priorities, and approaches. So the objectives that we heard back really strongly from our previous engagement was that things like sustainability and resilience, fairness, and health and safety were really key underlying things that cut across all elements of plan making. And so we've tried to embed that into this framework, as well as a series of priorities, including of relevance to discussing today, the idea that we want people to be able to connect to opportunities. Finally, we see placemaking as a process. That was the other thing that rang out quite strong through the engagement, that undertaking placemaking is an ongoing thing. It's not just an end. That front end section also includes a spatial strategy, so setting out where areas of placemaking, whether the best opportunities for placemaking are in the borough, And then there are two other chapter or parts to the plan. We've divided the borough up into 11 different neighbourhoods, and there are chapters for each of those. And there are also these borough-wide chapters on housing, climate change, and here we're talking about sustainable travel. So on to the sustainable travel section. So as part of the first steps engagement, we heard some key feedback is that there were concerns about traffic congestion and the need for better traffic management across the borough. There was strong support and acknowledgement of the challenges in getting from east to west a lot across the borough. The need for safer walking and cycling infrastructure, better crossings, and to tackle antisocial behaviour, improve lighting, making streets and transport hubs more accessible and welcoming. So each of these, I guess, borough-wide or thematic, I guess, policies generally starts with a strategic policy. The one on sustainable travel sets out quite clearly that what we're looking to achieve in this plan is a vision-led approach to transport planning. So the traditional approach to transport planning is often described as kind of predict and provide. So that's kind of the idea of understanding what is the future demand based on current trends such as population growth, car ownership, and then based on that, what is the infrastructure we need to kind of support this. The criticism of this approach is that it often reinforces car dependency and can lead to what we call induced demand. So the idea essentially that if you provide more parking spaces because there's a predicted need for it, then you'll get more cars as a result. The vision-based approach, however, is about first thinking about the kind of place we want to be, thinking a bit more holistically about what we see in our future, and then in our case, using the placemaking framework that we've set up, thinking about, healthy, safety, resilient, fair, connecting to opportunities, and also what we've said pertaining to, in each individual neighborhood, what our priorities are. So understanding what the vision is and then looking at the transport interventions we need to achieve this future. So a big thing is that we are looking to locate development where transport needs can be met in a more sustainable manner, and in particular contribute to an environment where, for those who can, walking, wheeling and cycling are a first choice for travel. And part of that is also about rebalancing our road network towards those more sustainable travel modes. So the Mayor of London's transport strategy aims to reduce car dependency on cars in favour of walking, cycling and public transport use. And for Haringey, it sets a strategic target of 88% of all trips being made by foot, cycle or public transport by 2041. So this plan has had a specific kind of regard to helping achieve this ambition. We're also looking to employ a healthy streets approach in line with the London plan. So the healthy streets approach is a system of policies and strategies that seek to deliver a healthier, more inclusive city where people can choose to walk and cycle and use public transport. It uses 10 different healthy streets indicators such as kind of clean air or feelings of safety as essential ingredients for creating that kind of healthy environment. We're also, as part of this strategic policy, looking to avoid and mitigate any significant impacts as a result of development on the operation and safety and sustainability of the transport system, and to create safe environments that contribute to the Vision Zero objective. So Vision Zero is the London Mayor's goal that by 2041, all deaths and serious injuries will be eliminated from London's transport network. It also highlights the importance of improving that equity of access, so considering and responding to the needs of vulnerable travel transport users, including children, elderly people, people with disabilities, and lower socioeconomic groups. So while the policies recognise that we do want to reduce reliance on private vehicles and achieving equity of access through that route, it might be that in some circumstances we have to consider people for whom they might be unable to use public transport or active travel. And finally, the strategic policy looks to ensure that development takes a design-led approach. And a design-led approach is set out in our design policies, but in this context, it's about ensuring that our streets are understood as more than just about movement, that they're multifunctional spaces, that can also incorporate green infrastructure, that think about the character of the neighborhoods, and also are understood as places to kind of gather and interact socially. So what is new with this local plan is that it contains a new policy specifically on walking. And this policy supports the ambitions set out in the walking and cycling action plan. It emphasises that proposals must prioritise pedestrians and take opportunities to enhance the walking network. Walking, I think it's important to note, is used in the document as a kind of catch-all term, so it covers foot kind of pedestrian-based movement. So including kind of wheeling, any other kind of alternative to foot pedestrian-based mobility. So what this policy really seeks to do is encourage require developers really to understand what the walking and cycling challenges are in their context, and design the development accordingly, and where needed also contribute to improvements to that local area. And that's why we've required major development proposals to be accompanied by an active travel zone assessment. Again, highlighted here is the fact that development should include deliver an inclusive pedestrian environment, demonstrating an applied understanding of the predicted users of the site and of local needs. And it also highlights the opportunity and supports the reduction of street clutter through proposals. Again, we've got a specific new policy on cycling. So proposals will be supported where they promote cycling and take opportunities to enhance the borough's existing cycling network and/or deliver high quality expansion of it. The council and its walking and cycling action plan sets out an ambition for our cycle routes and facilities to be amongst the best in London. So this policy seeks to support that ambition. And again, where needed, the council will look to require development to deliver improvements to cycling infrastructure and/or secure financial contributions. And will be expected to kind of help identify what those needs are and consider it as part of their evidence base. We've introduced stronger cycle parking standards in line with the minimum standards in the higher minimum standards, sorry, that should say, in the London plan. And we've also included more specific guidance on cycle storage and contributions to cycle hire infrastructure, as well as cycle parking. In terms of public transport, the policies look to refuse proposals which adversely affect the safety, functionality, reliability, or viability of the public transport network, and safeguard future public transport infrastructure. The council will, of course, continue to work with Transport for London, public transport operators, developers, and other parties to secure improvements to public transport infrastructure, and will seek to secure contributions from major development to public transport infrastructure. So the draft plan seeks to reduce car usage and promote active travel. I said, like walking and cycling. The greatest potential for encouraging this shift exists in the more accessible parts of the borough. So where development is in those really accessible areas, and those areas with what we call a PTAL or public transport accessibility level of 4 or higher, it's expected that they will be car-free, those new developments, except for where car parking is required for disabled users and or for other kind of essential operational or servicing requirements where this is justified in a transport assessment. So development in all other areas, so those that are below PTAL 4, should provide the minimum necessary car parking, and that's what we refer to as car light. We've introduced new car parking standards. These are stricter than the London Plan standards, but do provide some additional scope for car parking where it supports family homes in less accessible parts of the borough, so in that kind of PTAL 3 and below parts of the borough. In addition, where there is existing housing that is being redeveloped, it does allow for some scope for parking to re-provide for those existing households where this need is justified through evidence. Equitable allocation. Before I get to that, sorry. For major developments, another key thing is that the plan will require a minimum of 10% of homes to have a designated disabled person parking base. That's in line with the London Plan. But what we're also requiring is that is provided upfront, rather than as it is currently, a proportion of that is provided upfront, with the remainder kind of kept should it be required. Due to our understanding of need, we're looking to require that to be provided upfront. The policy also talks about the equitable allocation of parking spaces between market and affordable housing, with a recognition that people who are in social housing often have a lot less choice about where they live. So it's important that when parking is allocated, that it isn't done in a way that affects them unequitably. And finally, the plan provides support for proposals which seek to redevelop existing car parks and garages for alternative uses. The policies also take a more restrictive approach when it comes to crossovers. So crossovers, or vehicle crossovers, also known as kind of dropped or lowered curbs, are the legal means for motor vehicles to drive over a pavement to park in a driveway. So the plan looks to kind of tighten those rules to kind of reduce the amount of new crossovers coming in, which obviously have an impact on safety. However, it's important to note that permitted development rights mean that there's less control over what we can do with the laying of hard surfaces in front gardens for parking. And when it comes to freight deliveries and services, the plan seeks to ensure that delivering and servicing is appropriate to the proposed development and its location in terms of its impact, and that major developments are required to be supported by a delivery and servicing plan. Proposals should also seek to minimize the amount of freight trips, and applications should explore opportunities to work together with adjoining owners and occupiers to managing freight and services on an area-wide basis. So that might be looking at kind of micro logistics hubs and things like that. And where possible, delivery to and servicing of development should take place outside peak hours, i.e. the morning and evening commuting peaks and school drop off and pickup time. So that's a very quick, I appreciate, run through of the policies. We've got just over a week left to feedback on this draft local plan. The key ways of doing that are either by emailing your feedback directly to us at the email address newlocalplan@haringey.gov.uk, or you can provide feedback through our website, our Commonplace website. Unfortunately, it says in person there, but I think we've had our last in-person session. So yeah, it's just the email and the website are the best way to respond going forward.